but we're not taking. There are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been with Democrats who share our values, and we will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
Mom, we got class analysis at home. The class analysis at home. Oh yeah, we're cooked. How cooked? Pretty cooked. Lost the DNC chair election. Ken Martin. Got it. Cementing the permanent inefficacy of the Democratic Party. You know, it was a race and a slim shot. The Democrats are accomplishing to me, I think, about what we expected, but, you know, it doesn't hurt to hope for more, except when it does hurt. Ken Martin represented a return to 2005 era politics. Wickler represented 2025 politics. Yeah. It's the Democratic Party's done. Like, you can expect nothing from them. Absolutely nothing. Can we load our last save and try again? No, I don't think so. He doesn't look like he's 500 years old. He looks like Assad. He looks like a mix of Assad and Pete Buttigieg. But he has neither the debate chops of Buttigieg nor the overwhelming Democratic support of Assad. Wickler had so much support. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Jamie Harrison's on his way out. Gigantic piece of shit. He's the main reason why the Democrats have been so useless and ineffective, you know, over the course of the past election cycle, but it goes beyond that. Who votes in these things anyway? The deep state. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Jamie Harrison. Let's see his send-out video, you know, after losing everything for us. Losing the presidency, the House, and the Senate for the Democrats. Never won an election, no political experience. Wasn't this guy just like a MIC consultant?
Jamie Harrison will be the next chair of the Democratic National Committee.
My fellow Democrats, I started my journey to this stage in 1988. I was 12 years old, and my family was watching the Democratic National Convention.
That's
when
great.
Reverend Jackson came on, I paid attention. A black man from South Carolina, raised by a single mother. That was me.
Yeah, literally. He ran against Lindsey Graham in 2020. He was defeated by 10 points. He's been a staff director. He worked for Clyburn, and he was a lobbyist. He never won an election in his life. But that's perfectly representative. He is the consultant class. Yep. Do nothing, fail, but it doesn't matter because Democratic failure doesn't hurt the businesses they serve. 8 years at the Podesta Group. Look at this. This was his portfolio. This was the experience he came in with, okay? After leaving College Summit, Harrison became involved in politics, worked for Clyburn while he was the majority whip in the House of Representatives, went on to serve as executive director of the House Democratic Caucus and the vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, served as a lobbyist for the Podesta Group. His clients at the Podesta Group included banks, such as Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Berkshire Hathaway, pharmaceutical companies, casinos, the American Coalition for Clean Coal Electricity, and Walmart, among others. And the head of the DNC chair. Wait, I'm confused. I thought Ken Martin was our guy. Pay better attention. He published a book, Climbing the Hill, How to Build a Career in Politics and Make a Difference. That's great, man. So basically, he's a Republican. Another phenomenal example of how much identity politics was a psyop that was co-opted entirely by reactionary Democrats as a way of foisting mediocrity on us. Like, I'm reminded of how Hillary Clinton tried to, like, out-woke Bernie Sanders by you know, will addressing income inequality in the United States help fix sexism or something to that effect? And Elizabeth Warren saying Bernie was sexist? Yerp. God, that clip gets under my skin. Yeah. Thankfully, Dark Woke is anti-idpol. 10-point loss. Harrison broke U.S. Senate campaign fundraising records by raising $109 million. Well, at least he's good at raising money to lose. So was Kamala Harris. Didn't this guy want Biden to stay on? This guy supported Biden up until it was too late, then switched to Kamala Harris. Then now he's saying that we should have stuck with Biden. Like, he's a f***ing coward. No spine. Yeah, he's a professional loser. Oh, good bit from Ken Martin. I like that. This is the Democratic Party we have to look forward to. Their action in the face of oligarchical control. Here's the clip from Ken Martin. We'll look at Ken Martin in a second. Yeah, Jamie Harrison says we should have stuck with Joe Biden. Again, like, no belief in anything. Worthless people. in a way worse than Republicans because you get led down the same outcome either way, but at least the Republicans believe in hate. The Democrats just incidentally kick you into it.
And as long as I live, I will never forget what he said. He challenged young people to hope and to dream. So that's exactly what I did. I dreamed big, I worked hard, and I never lost hope. And that's
He did lose the election for the Senate. He didn't lose hope, but
the beautiful thing about this country that I love so much. Hope and hard work can take you anywhere.
words. Yeah, I wish I could go back in time, man, and like unironically, maybe if Hillary Clinton had won over Barack Obama in 2008, we wouldn't be in this position, because Barack Obama gave every single Democrat the template for how to ineffectually virtue signal. Like, this is how you talk to do nothing, absolutely nothing, but still get people to think you're radical, you know? Like, Hillary Clinton is obviously a snake. Everyone knows that, everyone knew that, you know? But Obama now has, like, encoded this pattern of mediocrity. Hillary would have done the same thing. No, Hillary can't do that. Hillary's not good at doing that. Hillary was actually, in my opinion, a lot more honest in her campaigning than Kamala Harris was. Hillary Clinton, for one, is a lot smarter than Kamala. No, people, for whatever her faults, Hillary Clinton is not stupid. She's totally uncharismatic. She's contemptible. She's obviously bitter, you know. She's a snake. But there's a lot of honesty in how she presents herself in that way. You know what I mean? She's very honestly dishonest, which I suppose I prefer to the dishonestly honest people. I don't know.
You can go to college, you can start your own business. That's the America Democrats believe in, and that's the America Democrats are fighting for. In South Carolina, we say, while I breathe, I hope. But folks, I want you to go all across this country and let people know hope alone ain't going to be enough. We have to act. So our mantra for this Democratic Party is not...
You just remember, like, you're watching this is the farewell video of a guy who lost everything. Well, he didn't lose shit. He lost us everything. The House, the Senate, and the presidency, a record of nothing but failure. And then we're getting this like victory speech. The Democrats, it's the only political party in the world that rewards failure to this extent. That's probably not true, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, with the Republicans, if you f it up for them, if you make things worse for them, your ass is out. But with the Democrats, like, you could failing, that's great, man. Now we don't have to govern.
While I breathe, I hope, but while I breathe, I vote. While I breathe, I mobilize. While I breathe, I organize. While I breathe, I protect our voters. That is who we are. That is who we are as a party.
That's great. How did Americans go from Fred Hampton to this? What do you mean, go from Fred Hampton? Fred Hampton was never was never Americans. He was an American.
Yeah. Should Kamala Harris run again?
Yes, she wants to.
You think she could win?
I believe she can. I mean, if I didn't believe Kamala Harris could win, I wouldn't have worked as hard as I did to help her win this last time around. You know, Donald Trump, and when you look at politics, Donald Trump and Barack Obama are just enigmas in politics.
Also, I hate his stupid, ugly, stupid face. He looks like the goddamn J.D. Vance fat boy. Can I have a lollipop? And I hate his stupid face. I hate him. I fucking despise him.
I think they do something different to the electorate every time they run that you can't counter. But then when they are not on the ballots, it's almost like you go back to the political gravity pulls people right back into it. That's part of how we won with how well we did in the midterms.
That's great, man. Yeah, anyway, Ken Martin won, obviously.
But we're not taking. There are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been with Democrats who share our values, and we will take their money. But we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
Here, thank you, Joe.
Mom, we got class analysis at home. The class analysis at home.
Let me just start by saying we have one team. One team.
That's right.
The Democratic Party. We have one fight. We have one fight. The fight's not in here. The fight's out there, right? The fight's not in here. The fight is for our values. The fight is for working people. The fight right now is against Donald Trump and the billionaires who bought this country. That's the fight, not in here. I want to thank all of you. Thank you to the DNC members who have put their faith in my vision for our party. I am honored and humbled for every one of you who supported me. To our friends, our volunteers, our staff, and everybody on Team Ken who's with us here or back in Minnesota. We couldn't have done this without all of you. To everyone I've worked with in my and our ASDC family these last 8 years, thank you. To the state party chairs, vice chairs, executive directors, thank you. To all of the candidates who put themselves out there these past few months, I know how much they worked on this. As I said from the beginning, I'm not running against them any more than they were running against us. And it is my guarantee to each of you that we're going to take the great ideas from all the candidates in this race. We're going to bring them into this great party. We're going to unify this party together, and we're all going to roll up our sleeves together to build this party. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to Chairman Wickler. Thank you to Governor O'Malley. Thank you to all of the candidates, Marianne Williamson, Nate Snyder, Dr. Hathaway, James Skoufis, Jason Paul, every candidate who ran, thank you for bringing your whole self to this.
This speech unironically has Hitler particles? No, it doesn't. You're just saying stuff, which you do often, Ismalia. You should be careful with that. You're just saying stuff. Don't cheapen the criticisms by throwing them out willy-nilly, okay? Be pointed.
We need you in this work. And look, thank you to my family, to my son Sam, who's with me right here, to my wife Jen, to all of these folks up here who worked so hard for me. Now look, it's time for our party to do three things. First is to unite. We have to rebuild our coalition. We have to ignore the noise. We have to focus with intensity on the goal ahead, which is winning elections to improve people's lives. Right. Second, we need to go on offense. Trump's first weeks have shown us that what happens when amateur hour meets demolition derby, right?
That's
and
great,
at the
man.
same
That was
time,
good.
he's invited all these billionaires into the Oval Office to mine, extract, and profit off of our government. This is our time. Right now, it's the people's government. It's not another resource for ultra elites to exploit. Lastly, and the third is we're going to take tonight to enjoy the moment, and we're going to build new alliances, but then we're going to get to work. We're going to get to work.
The framing of Donald Trump and his administration as incompetent rather than evil and malicious has been such a strategic failure by the Dems. Like, Republicans call Democrats evil all the time, and it sells gangbusters. No one gives a fuck who's more competent or less competent. Democrats are operating on the assumption that voters give a shit about, like, technocratic proficiency. No one cares, man. We want good guy versus bad guy narratives, which, hey, congratulations, nature, the environment, God has given you a very strong good guy versus bad guy narrative setup, okay? You have a really easy case to make if that's what you want to run on. If you want to argue competence, well, you fucking lost the election, so I don't know if that's the one you want to go on. Clearly they're better than you at winning, which is the only thing that matters.
We're going to fight. We're going to go out there and take this fight to Donald Trump and the Republicans, and we're going to fight for working people again in this party. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you so much. It's the honor of my life.
Can we at least talk about what this dude's actual politics are? He wasn't the worst guy in the race. He's not as bad. Okay, to be clear, literally anyone is an improvement over Jamie Harrison. If the seat had remained vacant, that would have been an improvement. If a, like, baby or maybe like a squirrel had been chosen as DNC chair, that would have been an improvement. So keep that in mind. He's not like the worst of the worst. So it's not like this is a total concession or anything. I do have to wonder, though, like, what the fuck his victory speech even means. Reunite the Democrats? The problem with the Democrats isn't that they're fractured, it's that nobody believes in them. Like, it's not a matter of a bunch of disparate interests. You have, like, a very unifying interest against Trump here. It's just that no one believes in your ability to do anything, and you're not doing anything. Like, which Was it Cory Booker? I saw this on Twitter. Yeah, Cory Booker. Hold on. Look at this. This is what the Democrats are currently doing, okay? Warning to anyone with suicidal tendencies. Okay, you do not want this to be your 13th reason. I'm just warning you, okay? 3, 2, 1. Mr. Schumer responded that Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey was in charge of Senate Democrats' social media and praised the job he was doing. Last week, Mr. Booker delivered a PowerPoint presentation to fellow Democrats on how to deliver their message online. In the slides, which were obtained by the New York Times, Mr. Booker offered his colleagues guidance on how often to post on each platform. Instagram, once or twice a day. Facebook, once a day. LinkedIn, 3 to 5 times a day. X, 2 to 5 times a day. TikTok, 1 to 4 times a day. The fact that LinkedIn is the highest posting frequency is so indicative of where these people's minds are at. Oh, LinkedIn says per week? Sorry, never mind. It would have been more convenient for my narrative that the Democrats are out of touch if that had said per day, and it didn't. They're still out of touch. Misinfo? Disinfo? Go ahead, community note me. See if I care. I do want to know more about Ken Martin, because I was most familiar with Wickler.
HelpDemocracy can bring you vital voting rights and democracy news by from 2024, and if so, what is it?
First off, Mark, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And we have known each other a long time. And thanks for all of your help over the years and keeping me out of jail. I really appreciate it. So, but no, seriously, thanks for your friendship. And I really appreciate the opportunity. Look, there's a lot we know about this election, of course, but there's still a lot we don't know. We know, for instance, that we lost ground with Latino men, with white women, with working class households, and so many other demographic groups. But what we don't know at this point, Mark, is the how and why. And that's because we don't have all the data back at our fingertips. We need to get the voter files back. We need to really start looking at things like what was the ad spend to some of these groups? What was the organizing tactics, the outreach? Who showed up, who didn't show up, right, in our targeted universes? All of that is really going to help us be able to actually be much more prescriptive with the solutions on how we get those groups back to supporting the Democrats throughout this country. But there are some things we do know, for instance, right? And one of the biggest for me, which should have been the canary in the coal mine this last election, was
Sick of these milky white faces, TBH. Dude, the last DNC chairhead was Jamie Harrison, whose face was not milky white, and he was literally the worst guy ever in all of history. Don't you engage in that insipid id poll. I'm sure that back during when Jamie Harrison won the DNC chair, I bet you there were a lot of people praising the, progressive diversity and inclusion of a POC DNC head that, heralded a new age of progressivism. We're not buying. Okay, Trump won. We're not buying any of this anymore, okay? It's all milky white faces all the time from now on. Dark woke.
Research that came out last spring that should have been a red flag for everyone in our party, which showed that for the first time in modern American history, the perceptions of the two political parties has actually switched. The majority of Americans now believe that the Republican Party best represents the interests of the working class and the poor, and the Democratic Party is the party of the wealthy and the elites. And sure enough, just to prove the point, the only two demographic groups that we overperformed with this election cycle were wealthy households and college-educated voters. That is a damning indictment on our party. It's a damning indictment on our party brand. Our party has always been the party that has been fighting for the working class and for the poor, for the oppressed and the marginalized. How we got to this point is anyone's guess, but it's not just a singular occurrence of this election. This has been going on for some time, as you know, Mark. We've been losing ground with many of these different demographic groups, and one of the keys for us moving forward is to try to figure out how we rebuild this coalition.
Yeah, no, I think that is, and so that brings up kind of my big question, which is you have been a successful campaign operative. You were very successful on the independent side.
It was
which
a mute.
Is like,
oh,
for better
mind.
or worse, it is a big part of the ecosystem that we operate in politics. You've been a very successful state party chair in Minnesota. So why the hell, in light of all that, why do you want to be the DNC chair?
Well, that's a really good question. That's the same.
Okay, I mean his insights here seem fine. I'm okay. Wait, Democratic brand. Let me see what he has to say here.
You mentioned several times something that is also, I think, front of mind to people, which is that the Democratic Party brand is at an all-time low. I'm glad you mentioned it, because this way I don't have to say the awkward thing. You said it first. That is just a reality. What would be your plan or your vision? Probably too much to ask you to have a plan at this point. You're still running for the office, but what's the solution there?
Well, I think first off, we need to get back to basics in terms of our messaging, right? And what I mean by that is we clearly lost ground in this information environment that we live in. But
the problem for me is that, like, we need one attribute in a DNC chair, and that is they need to be a fucking psychopath. Like, they need to be insane in order for us to claw back anything. They need to be like a mad dog. And I'm hoping, like, nobody's going to act that way when they're running for the DNC chair. I'm hoping we can get somebody, like, maybe this guy's the damn Joker, and he just hasn't had his one push, it's like gravity moment. You know? Like, that's my hope. Aren't there more important issues to focus on? Well, then the DNC chair election, it's pretty damn important, man. It's going to define the behavior of the party over the next, at minimum, 4 years.
the one thing that we are a very big tent party. We have very great diversity as it relates to race and ethnicity, as it relates to ideology, as it relates to geography. That is both.
Don't you think the way to fix people thinking the Dems do nothing for anyone is to explain the things they do get done? No, because they don't get anything done. Instead of joining the chorus and saying shit like they're somehow worse than Republicans, Zigabiz, don't be a pussy. Okay, come on. That just you're like, the inept whining should be saved for that. Go to their office and whine about what they've done. Okay, I'm sorry, they've literally handed the country off to Nazis. Yeah, like you'll pardon the frustration. If they've done less than nothing. They haven't held ground. They've lost everything.
One of our greatest strengths, but also has been used as one of our greatest weaknesses. And sometimes we have allowed ourselves
like what,
to
you want to be a little bitch?
Divided into smaller,
you want to tell people like Democrats
voters, and then we message to those
they held ground
groups
and
individually.
they increased the
and
Pell
what
Grant.
Then ends up happening is no one understands what connects.
I'm frustrated too, but but to say they do nothing is literally the impression you are saying people have. Yeah, they do nothing, so they need to do something. I'm sorry, is your suggestion that I do, like, inaccurate PR for the Democrats? Like, the problem with the Democrats is that there aren't enough people lying to pretend they do more than they do? What if they did something? I had, like, radical suggestion, I know. What if the party that can raise billions of dollars for its elections did something? Like, theoretically. Just, I know.
Those groups through a broader narrative of, again, who we are, what we're fighting for. And so the thing that we have to do is, I believe, we also spend a lot of money on quantitative and qualitative research. Mm-hmm. Not that that's bad, but it's a very controlled instruments. And
but they don't do nothing, though. Look at what Donald Trump has done in 11 days of holding office. And tell me that the Democrats do anything. Labor rights were better under them? Yeah, because Republicans make stuff worse. And yeah, Lena Khan was good. And I did give... I'm sorry. I'm actually going to crash out over the dishonesty of your suggestions. I spent years positively covering the stuff the Biden administration did, okay? You want, like, infinite glazing for the do-nothing loser party? You know what? Winning labor rights means nothing if you then lose the election to the guy who takes away the labor rights. This isn't fucking softball. There are no participation trophies. You're not getting A for effort, okay? If you lose the election and the next guy undoes everything, then it was worthless. Fuck, a lot of the benefits that we got under Lena Khan and the NLRB hadn't even really taken root yet. We didn't even see the benefit of these lawsuits play out. This is like decades and decades of work undone now because the Democrats, through shocking incompetence through this election, so many bad decisions at so many levels, from Biden refusing to drop out, saying he was going to be a one-term president, then not, Kamala Harris saying she wouldn't do anything differently, a complete mismatch in messaging in the interest of the public. Like, if you think there's nothing productive about hating hating the Democrats? I disagree. Hating the Democrats is the most productive, most honest thing anyone can do, because hating them is an important component to actually getting them to change. If you just like blithely accept them and lie to cover for them, then we're not going to get anything done, and the Republicans will win and win and win and win. There will be nothing left.
Understand this is things like polling and focus groups and data and
Correct.
analytics.
And, you know, the inputs in there are very controlled. And as a result, you get sort of skewed results on the end. And so for me, I've always believed we need to go back to what Bill Clinton used to talk about, which is what we now call ethnographic research, right? Or field surveys. Clinton said famously in 92 that, you know, if you want to know how people feel, go sit in a diner or a cafe and just open your ears, right? Go to a high school football game and listen to the parents around you, right? So for me, we need to get back to, a really a significant field program that's collecting information, whether that's door to door, you know, year-round organizing.
Well, I do like, I mean, essentially what he's saying here is stop listening to consultants. And I agree with that.
And as I mentioned, and also doing ethnographic research where we're doing field surveys and collecting data, not through controlled inputs, but we'll get a cleaner shot of how what the sentiments of Americans are. And that will help us be able to determine what our brand should be. Where are we falling down on the job? Why don't people feel like we're fighting for them anymore, right? And we do have to get...
Bill Clinton, literally the most right-wing Democrat in modern history. Glad we're going back to that. Yay. Don't be a retard. Listen to what he's actually saying. I'm not even saying I like the guy. Just don't be stupid. You're listening to keywords and responding to them. You're like a fucking toy from the 1990s that picks. You're like a doll that children are supposed to scream poop at, so it says I'm pooping. Into those weird dolls, you know? They used to be like TV adverts for them. Listen to the actual content of the sentence, okay? Use your analytical skills to parse the meaning of the statements. Don't just respond to the fact that he said Clinton. I'm not in the mood for your shit today.
Create feedback loops that help us in real time understand the sentiment and mood of the electorate better than just the surveys that we're using now. So I think that's part of it, right? The other part of it is, frankly, there's so much disillusionment amongst the American electorate when people get elected to office and then they don't use that power to make a difference, as I mentioned earlier. I think at the end of the day, we need authentic leaders who are empathetic, who actually get into office and lead, not with a cavalier attitude, but through the lens of actually delivering on the promises they made. Because I think part of the challenge is we've made a lot of promises over the years to many communities, and we haven't delivered on them, and they feel very disillusioned.
Yeah. So I think most people know you as a successful state party chair. They know you. If they are a little more inside baseball, they probably know you
Ken's
have been that of
the
the
DNC. Okay, those are the segments I wanted to see. Let me check out this MSNBC interview. It's only 9 minutes long. After that, I think I'm good with getting a feel for this guy.
In just 6 days, Democratic National Committee members will vote for a new chair. The chairman of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, Ken Martin, says that he already has support from 200 of the party's voting members. Chair candidates need at least 225 to win, and there are about 448 members, so this number is significant. Martin believes the path forward for the Democrats after 2024 is, quote, getting the DNC out of D.C., recommitting to building from the grassroots, and a strategy targeting all 57 states and territories. And Ken Martin joins us now. Can I just say, Mr. Chairman, I look forward to speaking with you, with my colleagues on Thursday at the Chairs Forum. But I have heard from some of your opponents in this race who say they don't believe you have 200 endorsers, and they think you all are inflating the numbers. What's your response to that?
Well, look, I've been overwhelmed by the support throughout this entire race, right? And we've rolled out all of our endorsements, at least the ones that want to be listed publicly online. My next closest competitor isn't even close at this point, to be honest with you. But that's neither here nor there. You know, my old boss, Paul Wellstone, used to say that you run like you're 20 points behind, even if you're 20 points ahead. We're going to run through the tape. We're going to continue to have great conversations all the way through this. And, you know, we'll know soon enough, in less than a week, whether or not what I said was accurate. I will tell you, we've doubled, tripled, quadruple checked the numbers, state parties at this point.
Right now is on its best day a dysfunctional hot mess in its messaging, in its organization. How do you see yourself bringing that together when you've got so many different coalitions who think what happened in this last election goes in one direction versus the direction some others sees it. So you've got these split screen images and views of the 2024 cycle from top to bottom. How do you correct
this
for
guy's
that?
Gene Wilder's face?
Well, look, I mean, I think I'm not here to win the argument. I'm here to win elections. And at the core of it, and you understand this, Michael, the role of a political party at any level, whether it's national, state, local party, is to win, to build the infrastructure to not only win the upcoming election, but to build long-term power. This is the thing that the conservative movement has understood in this country for the last 30 to 40 years is that to build power, you have to contest races up and down the ballot. You can't just focus on 7 battleground states. You actually have to build a party to win and build a party to last. And that means making sure that you are organized throughout this country. Why me? Well, look, in 2010, when I took over the Minnesota DFL, we had just come off the worst election in over 50 years. The morale was low. The finger pointing was high. Our stakeholders were leaving our party, from labor groups to other organizations to donors. And it's very akin to right now, right? With all the finger pointing and the reclamation.
It is like very telling that Republicans are constantly doing outreach work in California, New York, whatever else. But Democrats do nothing in the entire Bible Belt. Literally, like with the I like there are legitimately, like in the Midwest, the Bible Belt, the Great Plains, there are like 20 states Democrats will do literally no work in. Like they not even like, oh, they just coast, it's like a holding pattern. Like they're just like whoop. And the only Democrats that win there are ones that like independently fund their own races. Like they're not getting any. It's insane. Meanwhile, there are tens of millions of Republicans in New York and California. I looked up that URL that he's repping in his background. It's literally a health insurance company, lol. Oh God, I didn't even see that. Literally, like, he's got a newspaper post right here, and over here he has an advertisement for, it's a health insurance company? That's cool. Does he think Trump won because he campaigned in California? It's not just about, like, getting the votes because of the Electoral College or whatever. It goes beyond that. If you have a strong... Do you have any idea how much damage Republican Californians have done, or California Republicans have done altogether? Not just, like, the people they send to the House of Representatives or whatever, but in terms of cultural capital, the fact that like there's a narrative all across San Francisco and Los Angeles of the city decaying, homeless people, fentanyl. You get like the infiltration of Republican messaging and money in California has drastically shifted. Like California has some of the highest standard of living and like educational attainment in the country, but people think of California as a massive shithole that everyone's fleeing from. Now, in truth, the housing prices there are really bad and there's a lot of homelessness, but people think about California way worse than it actually is. If you want a city, or you want a state that's rife with crime, go to Arkansas or whatever. Go to some shit-ass red state where all the husbands are beating and raping their wives and daughters or whatever, you know? Like, the narrative that California is burning and falling apart is because Republicans have invested an ungodly amount of effort in portraying it that way. Wellstone was a progressive politician from ages ago, not insurance. Well, what is Wellstone.org? Wellstone.org doesn't lead to anything. Hey, who in chat lied? I assumed you went to Wellstone.org, but it seems that website's defunct. You lied. Paul Wellstone is fucking dead. Well, that says Wellstone, not Paul Wellstone. All right, well, I guess that's good. Anyway, I hit the wrong URL. It does look like a campaign sign. Yeah, well, you know, we had a nice little resolution to that arc. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand the point that I'm making about California? Or New York or whatever? Dude, New York Republicans have gotten insanely powerful. Like, it's so important to invest broadly, but Democrats just do not invest at all. Do you have any idea how powerful it would be if the Democrats invested like $10 million per deep red state to basically like blanket them in a campaign of, look at this shit ass town, look at how nothing gets done, look at how the jobs have left, look at how the wages have stagnated, look at how everything's terrible, look at how crime's on the rise, look at how drugs are on the rise. Hey, your local Republican legislators sure have helped with that, haven't they? But they don't do that because that would be mean. That would be mean. That'd be mean. That'd be rude. New York needs an Italian again. New York should only be represented by Italians, I think. And Jews. And one Irish. You can kind of like aggregate all of the local races, state races, whatever. But like you need that. And when I say Irish, Jewish, and Italian, I mean Irish Jew. I mean like sweaty tank top, gold chains. I mean like a flat newsboy cap with suspenders and you know, like fucking tartan cloth or whatever. I think that's Scottish actually. I mean Orthodox Jews, okay? With the little squirrelies, all right? That's the New York coalition I stand for. Yeah, tartan Scottish, that's right. Jewish Italians, the ultimate New Yorkers. True, that's true. That is true. Does he mean kippa? No. I mean the little hair squirrelies. I don't know what they're called. They're like sideburns, but they're like little locks, you know? Payas? Is that what they're called? I don't know. I've been looking into Great Depression recipes, and there's so many latkes. You know, latkes are like objectively one of the best foods in the world, and for some reason we don't all eat them. Pancakes are really bad for you because they're just like white flour. It's like a ton of carbs, little fiber. But potato pancakes, holy shit, they're delicious, and you can throw literally anything in them. Literally, you can make latkes out of anything. Literally, just the potato, dump stuff in the potato, you're good. That's also carbs. No, pancake flour and potatoes are two totally separate worlds. Like carb-wise. In terms of macros, how filling they are, what you got in them, totally different world. What are those? I'm telling you what they are. You have to listen. Potato carbs are a lot more complex. Yeah, I looked up how carbs and like fiber and stuff works, and it's like the more complex the carb, the more fibrous material in it, the more roughage, and the roughage acts as a barrier to prevent undigested carbs from being entered into the body in the intestines. Like it digests in your stomach, and then it goes in, and a lot of not everything gets digested, right? And then it goes into your intestines because you're going to shit it out or whatever. And the existence of the roughage prevents the additional undigested carbohydrates from getting into your bloodstream and becoming sugar. So you want the fiber to, it lowers your blood sugar. It's more healthy. I don't know. Scientists haven't figured it out yet. Pancakes are food unless it's pure sugar, then it's not junk. Then it's not junk. I can't help you if you're just not listening to me. So potatoes are bad, but as carbs go, the least bad. You want complex carbs, okay? You want rye bread, pumpernickel, brown bread, not sugary Wonder Bread or whatever. You want potatoes, not white pasta or whatever. Potatoes are pretty darn good for you. Very satisfying. Sweet potatoes are even better, yeah. Also, if you have at your local grocery store the goddamn chickpea pasta, it's a little pricier, but that shit is insane for your health. It's like a box of spaghetti, a whole box, 800 calories, 80 grams of protein, and it's just as tasty and filling, if not more tasty and filling, than regular flour pasta. So good. Sorry.
Right now, what it requires is someone who's already done this, who brought people back into the fold, who wrote a long-term vision, who gave people a sense again on how we could win. And you know what? In my time now, over the last 14 years, we haven't lost a statewide election here, and that's because we built the infrastructure in a very purple state to help our candidates win up and down the ballot. We can scale that up nationally and bring that same model to the DNC. You know, look, it does us no good to come in second, and losing by less does not help improve people's lives. I'm the only person in this race that has a track record of actually building a party to win and building a party to last.
There's vision, there's organization, there's fundraising for Democratic donors who are disenchanted at this point. How do you bring them back to the table?
Well, just like I said, you build a plan, a long-term plan that gives them a sense of the arc of this work. You know, Wayne Gretzky, the great one, hockey player, I have to use a hockey analogy since I'm from Minnesota, said that you have to skate to where the puck will be, not where the puck is. And I think for donors and other stakeholders in this party, they're sick and tired of just this very myopic lens on how we do this work, right? In 2030, the Brennan Center just did a report on this. In 2030, almost all the population shift is in the South. The 5 fastest growing states in the country are Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas.
Hi, Vosh. I tried soy sauce with my rice. I have seen the light. What? Water goes crazy when being thirsty is the vibe. Do you wipe your ass? How much stuff are you guys holding out on? Because I haven't mentioned it yet. Brush your teeth, wipe your ass after you poop. Chew your food. Don't just swallow it whole in your mouth. You guys got me worried sometimes. I'm glad you're enjoying the rice with soy sauce. Maybe I'm being a little bit discriminatory right now. I guess I just can't imagine a life where this was new. But, you know, everyone tries something new every day. Or at least they should. So, I don't know.
Texas, Florida, right? All southern states, meaning that we're going to lose power in the Midwest. We're going to lose power in the Northeast. And so we have to start preparing to meet that moment right now, laying down a foundation of support, starting to organize in those states so we're prepared to meet the shifting landscape. This is what I'm talking about. The problem for our party writ large for many years has been we're just myopically focused on one election cycle. Who's building for the next 10 years? Who's looking at those opportunities that are emerging, and who's starting to lay down a plan to actually address that? That's what the DNC has to do. Candidates come and go, but the party remains. The party has to be focused on the future and how we're going to get there. And so that's, for me, we've done that, right? I was $725,000 in debt when I took over the Minnesota DFL. Our donors didn't want anything to do with it, but why did they come back to the table? Because they saw that I had a plan to win.
Not gonna lie, this dude's spitting, but I don't trust him. There is one tiny bit of good news, and it's the fact that he's rooted in Minnesota means that maybe he has a good relationship with Tim Walz. Tim Walz, I saw this just earlier, was talking about how he'd prefer Democrats' strategy to be different rather than Democrats just complaining about what Trump is doing. Tim Walz has argued that they should be offering a different vision of leadership. Like Tim Walz is essentially saying it's not enough to just go, wow, so that just happened every time Donald Trump, like, I don't know, makes it illegal to be black or whatever, or have your pants hanging low, or whatever the fuck. But to actually, like, project a different vision of governance. And I think the problem for that, for a lot of Democrats, that Democrats don't have a vision of governance. They have no idea what they want. Because the only thing that a lot of Democrats believe in is the idea that they should be responsible stewards of the government. And they understand that the government is an apparatus by which they transfer wealth into the hands of their sponsors, you know, the oligarchs. So to them, it's like their problem with Trump is that he's rude and he breaks things, basically. It's a competence issue, not like a governance issue.
And they bought into it, literally bought into it, and we'll do the same at the DNC.
You were asked, should South Carolina Democrats keep the First in the Nation primary, some version of that question, and there are candidates are split on this. You specifically said, this is from the Post and Courier, and South Carolina Post and Courier, the chair, whoever that is up here, should not be guiding that conversation, should not come with that outcome already in mind, should not put their thumb on a scale for a certain state, a certain region, or a certain candidate, Martin said, concluding, we have to be above reproach. So what will be because the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, has committed to every 4 years taking another look at the calendar. What is going to be your approach there in terms of leading? Because I agree with no fingers on the scale, but the chair must weigh in some way, shape, or form.
Well, here's what I would say. I was a member of the Rules and Bylaws Committee. I proudly voted to support the last calendar that President Biden asked us to support. But let me say this. I really believe firmly that this is not a decision of one person. The chair is one person of many stakeholders that should have input into what the calendar looks like. And it's a giant if, as to whether or not the Rules and Bylaws Committee even takes this up again. Of course, our charter says we need to review the calendar, but there's nothing that suggests we need to change it. But what I would say is if the Rules and Bylaws Committee decides that we are going to change that, the process has to be transparent and open. Every state that wants to have a chance to make a bid should be. It helps us making promises on any of the calendar.
Okay, yeah. I will see. I wish I could say that I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not. He is better than Jamie Harrison. So I guess like I'm trying to compare this to an alternate time where maybe Jamie Harrison ran for office for a second term and won somehow. Like I'm trying to compare things to that, mostly for my own sanity, you know? At least Martin O'Malley didn't win. Yes, at least Martin O'Malley didn't win. Who's this Ken Martin guy? Well, that's the point of the segment. You have to watch the stream to watch the stream. You have to listen to hear. You have to intake information to intake information. For non-American chatters, what does the DNC chair actually do? They're the head of the DNC, kind of. They're the chair. They are the elected head of the group of people who have prominence within the party and make decisions about the direction of the party, how to spend campaign money, how to direct and operate. Yeah, chief cat herder. They're not like in charge, but like chief cat herder, basically. Ken Martin is the second best choice we could have gotten. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. Can they tell Pelosi what to do? Well, you can try. The DNC chair isn't a politician, you know? They run the bureaucracy of the DNC. Nancy Pelosi is a politician. Any politician is going to have massively more clout than a DNC chair lead. So, like, technically, the DNC bureaucracy is herded by the DNC chair, but yeah, Nancy Pelosi is a dragon. You know, that would be unwise. But he's not her boss. Like the Democrats run the party, or sorry, the DNC chair runs the DNC. The DNC doesn't control people who are aligned with the party.